All right. So for you, those of you who have not met me yet, my name is Madeline McLaughlin. I go by Maddie, and I'm getting my concentration here at Purdue in interaction design from their Master of Fine Arts program in industrial design. And here in this little section is my thesis display. And so my journey at Purdue started 3 years ago when I was working full-time as a product designer at a company called Zotec in Indianapolis. And I was content, but I felt like I had to go to grad school for two main reasons. One, I felt like I had a lot more to learn, and two, I really wanted to pursue my dream of becoming a professor and teaching. And so for the first of those goals of wanting to learn more, I definitely achieved that within my 3 years here at Purdue. I feel like I've grown and developed so much as a designer, and you can see that journey displayed in the posters across the wall. So these three posters over here are my first three major projects that I worked on at Purdue University, starting with Saddle Up, Egg Chef, and Read AI. And these three posters really helped me understand a lot more about the complexities and also just a lot of the beauty in doing UX design and developing products. And I fell in love especially with the idea of creating both physical and digital designs that can help and support each other. And so when it came time to do my thesis in my third year, I really thought long and hard about what topic I'd want to choose. And I realized something about all the projects I worked on. They all related back to two topics, education and disability. And I realized that is where my passion really laid. Not only because of my own personal interest of going into education and being a professor, but also because I have many family members who work in early education as kindergarten teachers or pre-K teachers. And I even have people in my family who've majored in education, and it's definitely something I've been exposed to a lot, and it became a passion of my own through that journey. I myself had volunteered at many daycares and even some classrooms in the past, and I always found it fascinating how we teach small humans how to learn. Another thing was this idea of accessibility and disability. So just through personal experience with family members and friends, I know that this world is not always welcoming to everyone equally. And that was also a passion project in my mind of how can we make the world a more accepting and accessible place for every single human being, regardless of their background or their abilities. So realizing that's where my passion was coming from and shown throughout my designs, when it came time to do my thesis, as represented over here, it is no surprise that it became about education and accessibility and how can we help teachers create a more inclusive and welcoming environment for all of their students. So thanks to the guidance help of Professor TJ over here as my chair, and the additional guidance of Jennifer and Cheryl, who I don't know where Jennifer went, there you are, for their guidance and support throughout this process as part of my committee, they were able to help me develop this idea of EduEase over the course of the last year and a half. And so you can see it spread across its story through these three posters, starting with its research and development. I took a lot of time to interview teachers, distributed surveys, did social media deep dives, read so many articles, wrote very long papers and literature reviews, really analyzing the space of education where the problems laid. And what I found is that teachers really do need help. They often feel neglected, they often feel overworked, they often feel very stressed. And right now there just is not the support system in place to really help them help their students, especially students who are neurodivergent and might have more unique learning needs. And so that's where I saw the potential of a design intervention that could help teachers better work with their students. Which got me to my ideation and development phase, where I did a lot of prototyping and mock-ups with both physical and digital solutions, trying to create the best design possible to help teachers. And of course, teachers were heavily involved in the process throughout the whole way. So that is a big belief of mine, that if you're designing for a target audience, they should have a say in every step of that process and be heavily involved in a truly user-focused design process. And so I had teachers who reviewed my work, did user testing, did sit-down kind of casual conversations or more formal interviewing in order to make sure my designs were always headed in the right direction. And through countless hours and many sleepless nights of development and testing, I eventually landed on my final designs as narrated through this poster here and shown in this table and on this display here, where I created both a digital platform and then a physical stylus that would work together and communicate in order to help teachers create custom content that they could then use with their students. And so with that, I introduce you guys to EduEase. The purpose of this product is that it allows teachers to quickly and easily create custom content. Within a few clicks, they can enter in exactly what they're trying to teach that day, and they can get worksheets, flashcards, slideshows, any type of material they need generated, along with lesson notes and lesson plans that they can then implement and use with their students with accessibility and inclusion in mind, where they can specify certain areas of concern they have with students or particular concerns that students are having with a certain lesson, struggles they're having with learning. They can put that in there and get content that actually responds to their students' needs quickly without too much extra labor on their part. And then during class time, when the students are working and using that freshly made content that the teacher just created, they would be using the EduEase Stylus, this very fancy looking recording device that doubles as a pen. And how the EduEase Stylus works is that as a student is writing, it would have a pressure-sensitive tip that would be able to record exactly what is written, and then it also would have a microphone embedded inside the cylinder part in order to record what is said, which is especially useful for one-on-one working sessions between teachers and students, which would then be generated into a handy-dandy transcript in the digital platform that then the teacher can look back on and use to generate either new content or analyze student performance, or use it to create lesson notes that they can then send to parents or tutors or whoever else the student is working with in order to make sure the student is getting all the support they need without asking too much additional from the teacher in terms of labor. And so that all is the system of EduEase. Of course, you can read more about it in detail on my poster or check out my designs here. But I just want to take a moment to say that 3 years ago when I started at Purdue, I never would have imagined I was capable of accomplishing something like this. This was a massive undertaking, but I could not be more proud of the results and everything I managed to do across this year. And of course, I'm so grateful to TJ and my other committee members and all of my friends and family who supported me and gave me advice and definitely carried me through those many sleepless nights where I was very stressed and perhaps a bit overwhelmed by it all. And so I just want to thank you guys all for coming and just thank you for supporting us today.